Welcome, everybody, and thank you for joining us after your screening of Together. We are here with the writer-director, Nikole Beckwith. Welcome.
Thank you. It's very exciting to be here.
It's great to have you. What a wonderful film. Just what a wonderful, beautiful, heartfelt ode to platonic love and that platonic romance. And it's something that you see a lot in like 20-something-year-old women where they have these like deep love relationships, but then they find their man or their person and then they disappear. And it's so refreshing to have this relationship be that kind of love. And I'd love to hear you tell us a little bit about how you came to that and how that's at the center of your film.
Yeah, I mean, I think that most of the loves that we have in our life are platonic loves. And for me, like, and I think everyone, but I don't want to speak for everyone, they're some of the most formative loves I've ever had in my whole life. And I think, like, I don't know if it's fairy tales or like what kind of put us on this cultural course of focusing so intently on romantic love being the definition of love, being the mainstay, the most paramount thing in our lives. And I find that not to be true. I've had some great loves. I love to love, but like, my platonic loves have really shaped me as a person and continue to do so. And I really wanted to, create a love letter to that. And also impermanence, I think, like, again, fairy tales, we like conflate forever and happily ever after. And I think also, like, a lot of relationships in my life have been impermanent, just from the nature of growing up and growing out. You don't always fit so neatly into the lives of the people that you love and who love you, and that happens over time. And that's okay. It doesn't mean the relationship is a failure. It doesn't mean the friendship doesn't mean anything. It's just, you help each other get to this certain place and then you have to diverge and, no love lost. Like, it's just different. And so I wanted to tell a story also about impermanence.
Yeah. I mean, thinking back on my life, it's like there's so many of those people that it was such an amazing time and it happened and it was great, and it's not happening now, and now I have a different set of friends and love, and you just don't see that very often. And you pulled it off so beautifully with that. It's like that sinking, like, oh, they're gonna fall in love and it's gonna be like a older man, younger woman. It's like, oh, but they don't. They have love and they have this relationship, but they don't. And that's such a fine thing that you do so well. The other big part of it is that idea that men have biological clocks and actually want to be fathers, which I think is also a little bit unusual, especially in a comedy drama kind of thing. And I don't know if you want to tell a little bit about that.
Well, how sad is it that that concept is unusual?
Right?
So sad. I think, like, we're so culturally obsessed with the idea that women are owned by their biological clocks, and that is such a huge part of our identity and the way we move through the world. And I'm primarily, when I see like men becoming fathers, it's like being dragged into it on the heels of like a demanding wife or something, or like, whoops, the condom broke and now what am I going to do? My life's over. And I think that is terrible. I think that men want to be parents too. And I think part of like feminist filmmaking and feminist representation is also changing the way we represent men. It's not just about women. It is about these like gender stereotypes and pigeonholes that we've created socially, that really affect the way that we are perceived and represented and move through the world. And men do have biological clocks, like they want to be dads, and you know, early on, like showing this script to people and being like, oh, you want to make this movie? There were some people that were like, but what's he gonna like do with the baby? And I'm like, love it for the rest of
Love
his
it, raise
life.
it.
Yeah, raise it, like give the kid a moral compass. And they're just like, oh, there's something just like fundamentally strange about like reading that, like about a straight guy, a single straight guy with a baby. Ugh. And I was just like, well, that's why I want to like, that's part of why I want to tell this story, you know? And so every single time I kind of got that reaction or got pushback about that, it just made me more determined to bring the story to life.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you don't see it very often, and being able to normalize that helps us take, we're all humans, and as humans, we want connection and family and that kind of thing. Um,
Yeah.
yeah. The surrogacy is so often portrayed as, that impossible choice that the surrogate is making. She's carrying this child for another person, and the guilt and the burden and all of that. And the way you wrote Anna as a fully actualized human being who knows exactly what she's doing, and it's complex, but I was thinking, maybe that feeling of having to give something up at the end. It's not about the baby. It's about what's going to happen in the future with Matt and with her friendship, and it's a different kind of grief. And I'd love to hear how you came to that and how you wrote that character.
Yeah, I think that like on the surrogacy tip, I do think that like, yes, like exactly what you said. It's very melancholy, very complicated, very thinking of surrogacy as being like giving something up. But in reality, it's additive. It's
Mm-hmm.
not giving anything up. It's not a loss. It's a gift, and it's help. It's creating a family. And more and more as the way we're making families are changing, I think it is super important to like also represent the positives in that thing. It's like, I'm used to in surrogacy stories seeing kind of like rainy window, hand on belly, looking at like forlorn, like,
Right.
how am I ever going to give this child up? Which is also in part because we do associate women with their biological clocks and assume every woman wants to be a mother, and that's going to like change their whole identity. And I wanted to tell a story about like a strong-minded, clear-eyed woman who was taking control of her future and knows her boundaries and what she's capable of,
Mm-hmm.
and goes in on that. And also, specifically for Anna, the story she has of becoming pregnant as a teenager and giving that child up for adoption, and how it kind of derailed her life, derailed her relationship with her family, her college plans. Now, you have to have had a child to be a surrogate, and to be able to take that and change it around to the thing that's going to help propel her forward. So also essentially reinventing the difficult or darker parts of what had happened in her past to be, again, an additive. And I just like that that's very important. It doesn't need to be so fraught. And I'm not saying that being a surrogate or engaging a surrogate isn't complicated. It very
Mm-hmm.
clearly is. It's super intimate. It's everybody's lives are changing. It's a really big deal. But I think it's really important that we destigmatize it.
Mm-hmm.
I think like I think that's really important. As we begin to like expand and embrace the ways that families are created, I think it's really important that we take the darkness out. It's like, it's already complicated, it's already a big deal. We don't need to
Right.
make it darker. We don't need to make it scarier. And yeah, I think it's like, it's positive. You're bringing
Yeah.
a child into the world, you're bringing a child to family, you're knowing yourself better and expanding yourself. And yeah, I wanted to tell that story.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, Patty Harrison is so perfect as Anna, and Ed Helms is great. Like, it's not the goofy office Ed Helms or like the Hangover Ed Helms. It's such an almost quiet performance, which is not something you really expect from him. How did you get the two of them on board?
Ed came first, and you know, I love Ed's work so much. I'm a huge fan, which
Yeah.
I've never said to him. But you know, part of watching The Office, for instance, is like, yes, it's hilarious. There's like some physical comedy in there. There's these big moments, but for me, it's just like, oh man, like he imbues that character, as they all did, which is I think why it's such a beautiful show,
Yeah.
with pathos and ethos and conflict and vulnerability. Like when I always cry when at the finale of The Office when he
Yeah.
gets the do, and it's just like, right, because I've watched this man who's struggles with his relationship with his father, struggles with
Yeah.
himself, like, you know, it's all those things. And I was just kind of wanting, I was like, let's take the thing that's underneath all of these really fantastic, amazing comedic performances and what makes them so human, but like, let's take it from the back seat, put it in the front seat, and see what happens. And when I met Ed, he's just so wonderful and present, and just with you. And you know, we met for coffee, really clicked. He loved the script. We had great things to like. We took it all apart and was like, yeah, let's do it. And then of course, like, you know, I was scouring the world for that click, that perfect Anna, and I came across Patty's Tonight Show performance, infamous Tonight Show with Julio Torres.
Yeah.
And I was watching it, and it was not as it happened. It was after the fact on the internet. But it was just kind of like, oh, there she is. There's Anna. And I watched her on Shrill was just coming out, and High Maintenance, and then I was just like listening to podcasts. I also just really like to listen and watch like interviews a lot while I'm casting, like almost more than I watch them turn in other performances. I just want to like hear them talk and like see what's in there, what are the tools. And it just clicked for me, Patty, and we had coffee, and really we're on like a wavelength. Of course, like, you know, the Anna character, for lack of a better like combo, is the Nikole character in the play. It's like, I was once a 26-year-old woman, I like remember. So it was also about just like what that wavelength is, and like, do we, you know, it's no surprise that we're now very close friends, and like I feel like she's my sister, you know. And it's like wonderful. She, you know, put those bangs on Anna. Those aren't real bangs, those are prosthetic bangs. You know, so we had our little like, you know, our little twinsy moments or whatever. But it was just, that was also, it was exciting to me to think about Patty again, another performer, very big, you know, huge character. Shrill, the huge character, like, you know, A Simple Favor. Even she's just in this small scene, but she's very memorable because she has like this, she's very funny. And I think anyone who is such a skilled comedian, and this goes for everyone in the cast really, like if you're a very skilled comedian, you are very in touch with all of the parts of what it is to be a human being, and the sadder parts, the sensitive parts, the vulnerable parts. You're really holding hands with all of that, because that's where comedy comes from, and that's what comedy does, is makes us feel better about all of those things. And so you know, it's in there. I don't think necessarily that all of our Oscar winning actors can probably hit it out of the park comedy wise, because it's such a specific thing. But I do think it goes the other way. I do think like if you're willing to be earnest and vulnerable, like if you're up for that, if you're interested in that, you can go there. And so it was really fun to like adventure on that with Patty, and like this role, this first, you know, lead film role and stuff. Like it was just such an incredible experience.
Yeah, she's awesome. And you mentioned Julio Torres, and like what a great supporting cast with Julio and Tig Notaro, and those sweaters. And it's just like, they just embody these very specific characters. Were you able to let them sort of be improvisational, or was it pretty strictly scripted, especially for the supporting characters?
Well, yes, the cast is an embarrassment of riches. It was like every
Really
single
is.
day that we were getting like, oh yeah, well, like Tig signed on or whatever. I'm like, what? Pinch me. Like every single day was just like, what, Fred Melamed? Like, well, you're blowing my mind. So I felt like just so lucky. And it's also very funny when you're like, I'm making this comedy film and I'm the least funny person on set. So like that was also like a humbling, wonderful experience. Um, we shot very quickly, so the bulk of the film was shot in Los Angeles in 17 days.
Wow.
And then we did like a day and a half or 2 days of exteriors in San Francisco.
Mhm.
And so we didn't have a ton of time to just be like, and now let's do whatever we want. So but there are improvs that made it into the film for sure. And so it was kind of like whatever happened the first time around, you pick your gems to be like, okay, we're gonna also get this from this other angle. You had to be really, it had to kind of like immediately become part of the script. So
Mhm.
like the moment in the coffee shop, I mean, Julio was really ripping a lot, and the character of Jules really lends himself to that. So the receipt, the do you have a receipt moment, that's improvised and was very funny. And we had a great time shooting that. And the you know, there's lots of stuff. That's some of the stuff in the Tig
Yeah.
scenes, so what they're talking about friends or whatever is improvised, and it was really fun to be able to do that. I mean, also, if we had done that more, I feel like we could probably still be shooting the movie right now, because when you have all of those comedic geniuses, it'd just be like, yeah, sure, you guys write you write the movie. I'll just stand over here.
I'll be
Like
over
this
here.
Liz. Yeah, I'll be over here. You let me know when you're done. So it's like, you know, we could have just been going on and on. But yeah, it was a very cool experience to be working with such comedic greats. And yeah, yeah, it was quite an
Well,
experience.
and so many of them can say so much without any words. Like they're just the facial expressions get so much snark or humor or all of the different feelings across.
Mhm.
And so, you know, each one of them is able to really shine in their 5 minutes on screen. They're all really memorable. Yeah, there's not really
Yeah.
a question in there.
No, I agree. I mean, there's one face of Tig that Tig makes that I think is just where it's like, oh, is that gross to tell you? And
Yep,
she's saying it's not, but it clearly
but it
is very
clearly is.
gross. But she's such a good therapist. She's such a good counselor. And so like that's like, that picture's worth 1,000 words, you know? And there's just a lot of that. Yeah, talk about just being thrilled to get up and go to work every morning. It was like I'm living my fantasy with all of these people I admire so much.
Yeah. You mentioned the length of the shoot, which is pretty short. The 17-day shoot is pretty short. Did you shoot it in screening order, or were you hopping around?
Hopping around. I mean,
Yeah.
oh, the luxury of shooting. I've never shot anything, you know, linearly. I would have in chronological order. That would be an incredible experience. That would be very fun. And I come from a theater background, so that would like make sense. When I was
Yeah.
first starting work in film, I was like, you just shoot whatever like all the time, like this doesn't go together at all. And it's like it's based on locations, Nikole. And I was like, okay. So we shot out of order, you know, and of course we have the
Hmm.
belly,
Yeah.
and so we would be doing like belly changes. But yeah, we shot by location. I did know that I wanted the birth scene, the hospital scene, to be that was the last thing we shot in Los Angeles. And so, even though we went on to shoot some exteriors in San Francisco, it was that was really the end, and that was like not our crew wasn't coming with us. You know, we were doing like a skeleton crew out in SF. So um, I really wanted it to be the last thing, and it's a this sensitive, delicate moment, but it's also like, oh, here, like Lamp, we're giving birth to Lamp,
Right.
we've birthed the movie, you know. And so that was the one thing, like both Anthony, my producing partner, and I were very like clear about. We're like, how can we build the schedule to enable that to happen? And it for sure paid off, because it's like we were all saying goodbye in that moment, that joyous moment of success, we did it, and also but I'm gonna miss you so much.
Yeah.
So it was a really beautiful time. But yeah, moving quickly. I mean, I shot my first film in 18 days, I think. So it's just like I'm used to it. I've been on a couple like bigger movie sets, and they'll,
Yeah.
they shoot a page and a half in a day, and I'm like, what are you guys doing? I can't. I have to go for a walk. But because like we're shooting like 5-6 pages a day.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a pace. It's a pace for sure.
Yeah. Well, and it can lend itself to all kinds of different things happening because people are moving fast, and it's just like something happens.
It creates a ton of camaraderie, I think, because
Yeah.
like everybody has to be operating at the top.
Right.
We have to be like where everybody is doing their job at all times. There's no such thing as like, oh, okay, you finished doing this light setup, like go have like a juice box and like we'll let you
Right.
know when we're done shooting this half a page. It's like, okay, now that you've done that, like figure out how we're gonna do this like in
We're coming
5
over here in
minutes
2 minutes.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like everybody is just crazy, but it does create an energy and like a connectiveness where it's just like, grab hands where you can get them, like everybody being very supportive, very present for each other. And then like, then you're quiet and the scene is happening, and then you're laughing, everyone's holding their laugh in until they're done, and then you all get to share a laugh, and then it's like, that was fun, now quick, we need to like go and do this other thing like really really quickly. But it was amazing, and our lighting and electrical department did such an incredible job. We did like day for night, night for day, shooting location wise, and it's just so beautifully done. And I mean, really everybody, production design, it's like that party, like the baby shower was really like we threw a party. Our props master made cupcakes from scratch, came in and was like, I made these cupcakes. It was like everybody just like all hands on deck, and it really felt like we were getting ready for a party that had to happen really quickly, and like it was a surprise party, and then it also had to like end pretty abruptly. And organizing the painting of the room while we're shooting in the living room, but like making sure we're getting that green color in there the way we needed and everything. It was crazy. I mean, what an incredible crew. Yeah, everybody was just so amazing, and I love them, and I love working with them, and it was a joy, and they're all masters of what they're doing, and they made it
Well,
look easy, and they made it feel
yeah.
fun. It didn't feel like a stressful set at all. It really felt like we're having a great time. We're doing 12 things at once, but we're also like, telling jokes and blowing up balloons or whatever. Like it was nice.
Well, and that kind of pace really lends itself to that family creation, which is, the film is all about, how do you create a family, based on where you're coming from and who you choose to have in where you're going to. And so that's why I love that you, and like, I'm sad also that you ended it the way you did, but I also love the way that you ended it. With this, the world is infinite. We don't know, and you're not going to tell us what happened. Do they remain friends? Is she in Matt and Lance's life? Is what happens? It's like it leaves it up to us. Did you ever have an alternate ending where there was more? Oh, okay. Nope.
The last scene is shot exactly as it's written. And when I thought of the film, I knew I wanted it to take place from the moment they meet in the interview until the baby's first breath. And I didn't have any idea what was going to happen in between. So it was like when I write, I feel like an observer more than a puppeteer. Like I really feel like I'm sneaking into these characters' lives,
Right.
and they're going to show me what they're going to show me, and they'll show me more the more I'm there for them with a light touch. And so I really, I feel almost like an audience member watching the movie while I'm writing it. Like there's a huge twist in my first film, Stockholm, Pennsylvania. And when I was writing it, I was like, oh my God, Marcy, what are you doing? Like, I was like so surprised. So, I came up with these bookends, and then it was like, who knows what's going to happen? But it was important to me to end the film that way. And Ed and Patty just did such a beautiful job, and Frank, the DP as well, the way the camera was moving, and Rosalind, who played the OBGYN, who is also in my first film, Like she's one of the most incredible, wonderful people ever to exist on planet Earth. And she's so supportive and so enthusiastic. She just brings light on set with her. And so I knew I was like, will you come deliver the movie? Like, I would just want you on set. I just want you there. Like, you're so incredible. And so it's just about like creating the environment for everything to sing. And like, what wasn't scripted was like what Matt is saying off screen, reading Lamp, because like I'd only known it on the page. So then when it was happening, I was like, oh, talk to Lamp's there.
Yeah.
And what he says is so beautiful, and the performance is so beautiful. And it's like, that's what's always been in. We didn't ADR it, we didn't change it. That was just the very first thing that came from him when I told him to talk baby. And it's just like, I've never seen that the final shots and not cried, even in the edit. There are some days where I'd be like, all right, we know we're not changing that anymore, and I can't watch it again. I'm gonna cry my face off. And it's just, that's how beautiful their performances are. And yeah, it's nice. But I think it's also like, it's a way, like you said, like it's up to you or something. Like, I think that's the way for a story to stay with you and change with you, and you get to carry it out of the theater. When you tie something up in a bow, it's a period. The movie begins and ends while you're sitting in the seat. And if you can provide a worthy question, an open moment, that's where you get to take it with you. And I think that's that's just important. It's nice. I want to make sure the characters keep going.
Yeah. Well, it's an indelible scene. It's so beautiful, and Patty's face is just, it's gorgeous. It's
so gorgeous.
Yeah, it makes me cry a little bit now. It's like, just thinking about it.
Thinking about it. The performances are incredible. Their goodbye look to each other, the uncertainty, and just, and again, like we shot it the last thing, and so it's like, Ed and Patty, as well as Matt and Anna, are kind of, they've been through this major thing, and who knows what'll happen next, and it's more beautiful than I could have imagined it when I had written it on the page, to actually see it happen, and to also like hand it over, where it was like, I'm no longer the like composer of whatever this moment is. It's like, you see what it is on my page, but like, it's totally in your hands. Like, it is whatever you make this moment. And it was just so beautiful. And then I remember like when I called cut, I was like, cut? Like, we got it. And then Ed and Patty were like, are you sure? Like, because it's such a delicate moment where they're like, we can keep going. Like, is it really, like, we're really done? And it's like,
are we done?
We
Do
really
we need to
got
stop?
it. And then it was just like, stop. I was like, Patty, you can stop grunting. I mean, that was just such a funny thing too. ADRing that. It's like, there's this beautiful scene, but prior to that, I'm calling her in for ADR, and I'm like, just grunt, just like grunt around, lay down on the floor and grunt. So there's like, there's comedy in all of it. But that final scene, I really do. I cry all the time, seeing it, talking about it, and it's because it's theirs. They made that, and I feel so lucky to be part of it.
Yeah. So the film comes out
April 23rd.
Awesome. And if people want to keep following along and see when the film is going to be in their area of the world, what's the website or Instagram or social handles?
We don't have any of those. How dare you bring that up?
I'm so sorry. I can cut this out.
Bleecker Street is distributing the film here, and so they'll have the deets. They're Bleecker Street Films. Gosh, I should have looked to see what these things are. I don't know. But yeah, we don't have an Instagram or a Twitter or anything for the movie. But Bleecker, Stay Gold, all the folks that made the movie, Ed, Patty, they'll tell you everything you need to know. I'm just along for the ride. I don't know what I'm doing. Yeah.
Awesome. It's a wonderful film, Nikole. Thank you so much for making it, and thank you so much for coming and sharing it with us.
Thank you so much. Thank you for screening the film and for this lovely talk. And I'm I'm so happy that you like the movie. Thank you.
I love it. I love it. My wife and I laughed and cried, and it's such a beautiful encapsulation of a, a love that we all have, but we don't see in other people. Like we don't notice it all the time. So thank you.
Thank you.
Wonderful. Whole press.